Hello, everyone. It's been a couple days, but this is CPAT bringing you another Exceed commentary of Junky's Japes returns. This is going to be, I believe, week 4 of the Swiss format. On the red side here, we have Labrousse, and on blue side, we have Rose. These are two players I've actually never seen before, so this should be an interesting one. Looks like matchup has been selected. Looks like we're going to be seeing Jin on the Rose side versus Bison on the Labrousse side. This should be an interesting one. Both characters kind of like the mid range. Jin prefers the range 2, Bison obviously preferring like the range 3. So maybe there'll be like an interesting dance here of positioning. Like I said, I've never seen either of these players play before, so this should be an interesting one. And especially Bison, I feel like Bison doesn't get enough love. I guess to be fair, in a 30-person tournament with all these characters, and I'm trying my hardest not to wide pan out straight to the character selects on the right hand side here. But there are 60 something characters, 66 or so characters that are tournament legal as of this point. So I guess it's kind of hard to see all of them represented, but it's cool to see. I guess Jin's pretty popular, but I don't think I've seen. I think I recorded 10 minutes of Bison gameplay, which was 2 combats. Don't watch that video, it's really bad. But yeah, so this is going to be our first full Bison gameplay. Jin, I think we've seen. I don't know if we've seen Jin a couple times, but basically Migo and I are the only ones casting this tournament for the most part. And Migo is basically a Jin main now that Carl's not here. So if you want to check out more Jin gameplay, you can check out his channel. But I believe it's going to be the first time I see any Jin gameplay, so this should be interesting. Like I said, both characters kind of mid-rangey. I guess mid-range I would define as like 2 to 3-ish. So like not close. I guess maybe 2 is close range, but around that area is where 2 is definitely where Jin seems to thrive the most, and 3 is where Bison thrives the most. So let's see how the positioning works out. Looks like Labrousse has the coin selected while he's flipping his cards. Not a huge deal. So it looks like Labrousse will be going first, mulliganing 4 for Bison, and Jin mulligans 5. So pretty new hands coming in here. So let's do we have the cards played out somewhere? Yeah, we have cards played out here. So if there's a lot of downtime in the match, we will go ahead and look through these cards. We can just zoom through them real quick, as Bison just does the Bison prepare on turn 1. So he puts a card into his gauge and then draws 2 cards. So we'll just quickly zoom in through these cards. Jin crosses into range 1. Interesting. Guess he doesn't. Guess she doesn't like the distance there. Interestingly, range 1. I guess Bison's not the strongest character at range 1. Looking at these options here, definitely prefers that range 3. Interestingly, Jin does have some okay options at range 1. Like has an uppercut, has the mid speed. Looks like a second Bison action coming. So yeah, second Bison action. I wonder what he's planning on. Right, so Bison's a character that builds gauge really easily because of the innate ability. Bison's a character that also likes to expend gauge pretty quickly. I'm not with a lot of his attacks having critical. A couple boosts that require force as well. And relatively expensive ultras as well, both of them costing 3. So Bison just sitting back saying, hey, if you don't want to be, if you're gonna let me, I'm just gonna sit here about gauge. What are you gonna do about it, Jin? Let's see what Jin's response is. Looks like lining up an EX. Yep, and there's the EX coming out from Jin. Let's see what she's got. This could basically be anything. Only cross down the discard. the 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 standard mix up of like fast. Jin does have a relatively punishing mid speed with permafrost, although it has no defenses. So risky mid speed and then the slow, something like an EX sweep, EX focus, all possible. It could be like an EX like dual eye strike, pop them in the corner. Although I feel like this card really doesn't need to be EX'd, but let's see what we got here. Bison just blocking. This is the EX sweep. This is going to be huge, huge, huge. Actually, not 7 damage. At least it didn't pop like a sweep. Pulls the card first. Gets rid of the head stomp. Head stomp is one of those attacks that's super dominant at range 3. If you look at this monster, when you crit it, it's a 2-3-6-6. Jin literally has an ultra. That's that, right? And that's his ultra that costs 3. And granted, this gains advantage afterwards, but this is a good card. It's one of the reasons why Bison's so dominant at range 3. So it's a pretty good pull. Looks like Bison's going to opt to take the 1 damage here. Of course, the X sweep doing 7. Pulling a card. Pretty expensive combat for both players, I'd say. Jin down both sweeps so early, and while sweep's not the most important card, it's important to note that when you spend EXs like that early, I mean, it's good to spend EXs like that early, but it just means that that threat won't exist until the reshuffle, so that's just something to keep in mind. That's something I've been saying a lot in these commentaries, but I think it's just super true. Just not having to worry about that, it's just one less thing for the Bison player to worry about. And granted, sweep's not the most oppressive tool, but it is a tool that's missing. Bison striking from range 1 very tentatively. No crit as well. Jin spending for after draw 2, probably like a focus or something, response. Yep, and there's the focus into the sweep. This will be relatively even trade for both sides here. Bison will pull a card, and then Jin will draw a card. However, Jin's innate ability allows her to spend a gauge, or when she sets an attack, she can spend a gauge to draw 2. So she'll be getting a bunch of cards here. Basically refilling in hand size. Kind of a little scary, but that's how Jin operates. Jin has a lot of card draw in his deck to things like even cool under pressure. Boosting, you can draw a bunch of cards, and then of course with the innate ability as well. Jin just opting for the range 1 spike boost. Okay. Wonder if Bison, I don't think Bison's willing to strike here. A little bit low on resources, so probably just like a prepare action, something. Maybe a Bison prepare. Nope, just opts for the regular prepare. Back to Jin. And spike boost isn't the most threatening thing in the world, right? It's not something that you need to immediately respond to. It's just something that helps you trade better. Yeah, so I think preparing there is fine for Bison. Just make sure you have the resources to properly react to the next thing that Jin throws at you. Okay, Jin spending the after draw 1. I guess we know how Rose likes to spend her gauge. She's been doing this quite often. I feel like, I don't know, this feels like a fast one to me. I don't know why, it just feels like it. But that's just like a read. And it's hard to, I shouldn't even be making reads. This is like turn 3 of a match of a player I've never seen before. But yeah, maybe it could be like assault. A lot of people like to, when they do a range 1 assault, they like to throw the defend behind it, and Jin loves getting advantage. Critical in response. So this would be like critical. Which one is this? Yeah, this one. Skull diver. And there's the skull diver. There's the assault, like I called it. So this will actually trade, because assault will go first, hit for 4, and then because of the critical on skull diver, Bison's not stunned, so he can do his thing and hit back for 5. Jin, however, does get advantage. Jin, a character that has advantage on just most of random things, right? Like Jin can get advantage here, Jin can get advantage here. Jin can get advantage off of this boost, and yeah, I think that's it. But yeah, that's a lot of advantage for a character. I think those 4 separate cards that give Jin advantage on top of the assault. So Jin, like a lot of Season 5 characters, definitely has his advantage chains available to him. Rose just opting to prepare here instead of doing anything too fancy. But yeah, this defend boost into the range 1 assault, it's a play that I've seen a lot of people go for. So just watch out for that, the range one. A lot of people like going for that. Hey, critical strike. Bison really, he's using this gauge. I like this. Critical striking is just, it's so good because Bison can build up gauge so quickly. You really put the seeds of doubt into the opponent. Be like, hey, what is this card? And of course you can fake it. Doesn't have to be the real thing. Okay, opts for second focus into Nightmare Booster. So unfortunately, because of the close effect on this, the focus will actually come and hit. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I forgot Nightmare Booster. Nightmare Booster's critical ability is that the opponent's attack does not hit you. So, yeah, just another example of a really good range 3 Bison card. That when it's faster, you can't get hit. That's pretty good. Gain advantage on it afterward. 3. This ultra is actually super similar to this ultra, except this one only costs 3 to get the advantage, but this one costs 4 to get like a dodge as well. I think Bison just opted to prepare after that, though. That was a pretty expensive turn. 4 gauge gone, but Bison can build that back up pretty quickly. Although now it range 2, which is a little bit more of Jin's wheelhouse. Let's see how Jin reacts to this. Jin, of course, having the threat of an uppercut. The 1-2 4-7 when initiating. Of course, has the mix-up with Permafrost, although Permafrost doesn't have. The thing about Permafrost is, while it's a mid-speed, I love mid-speeds in this game, but I kind of over-represent him. But this mid-speed's pretty risky, and doesn't have the best payout. Only 7 power, although it does have the draw one as well, and unfortunately has the downside of pushing Jin to range 1, which can be good or bad depending on what the cards are in your hand. But with, interestingly, one very, very important thing to note, Jin roses down both of her sweeps and her focuses. So that's definitely something, that's one of those things that's, you're going to notice that Bison's no longer have to worry about the slow normals, and we might see him play differently as a result, because he has this extra knowledge that both focuses and both sweeps are down. So the both sweeps, or when both sweeps are down, wasn't the biggest deal, but with both sweeps and both focuses down, that is significantly bigger deal. So it looks like Rose spent 1 just to move into range 1. Bison responding with the assault boost, backstepping to range 3, which we explained multiple times before is the best range for Bison to operate at, especially in this matchup. Let's see how Rose responds. Maybe so is the range 2 to range 1 movement was actually quite interesting. I wonder if she's willing to do something like that again, or prefers to stick in range 3. Yeah, just sticking like glue. Back to range 1. Okay, this could be interesting. I like this wrestling for position a lot. This kind of stuff's really interesting. Like, how many resources am I willing to spend, or is my opponent willing to spend to ensure that I hit the proper range for what I want to do? So let's see if Bison responds with like another move. Maybe move back to range 3. Although he is pushing himself closer to the corner. No, it looks like we're just going to see Bison dollars here. This boost. Look at this boost. This boost is just look at it. It just looks so good, right? The opponent has more cards in hand than you, which Jin is likely to have just because of Jin as a character. You draw 3 cards and a key charge on top of it. So this is like a key charge plus, actually. I believe this triggers. This looks like this would trigger it, like, at worst, it's a key charge, right? So if the opponent has less cards in hand than you, this will still be a key charge, which is a perfectly fine boost. Although in Bison doesn't really need that kind of boost, right? With the amount of gauge that it can generate. Also, let's look at this special art. You know what? Last week we joked that we don't allow these kind of decks through, but somehow I let this one slide. But I'm watching you, Labrousse. Actually, Rose actually has her special deck out too. Looks like. I guess we have to allow it at this point. Rose opting for the range 1 defend boost again. So now down both focuses, both sweeps, both spikes. This early in the game. Only has the fast normals left. Jin, or I'm sorry, excuse me, Bison thinking in response what to do here. I'm assuming it's Bison's turn. Where's Bison's little hand? Oh, there it is. Okay. Apologies for the really quick zoom out. Bison checking discards. Maybe a reading coming through? Or either that or just seeing what options are gone. Like I said, it's all the slow normals, and then as far as specials go, I believe an Ultra was spent. Yeah, there's a nice Fang on top of that deck. A Dual Eye Strike was spent for movement. I don't remember the other cards that were spent, but actually, I think that's actually it. Yeah, only 9 cards spent, huh? Okay. This will be an interesting time for a reading. Yeah, she defend boosted. Oh, Bruce was just thinking that it was Rose's turn, but no. Rose just I guess they're not in voice chat or something. A lot of tournament players they go into voice chat, but I guess these two are not in voice chat right now. Voice chat can be good and bad. Sometimes you want to limit, especially if they're extremely chatty. Sometimes you want to limit them to only text, and I believe there's no standard on whether tournament matches should be played on voice or text. Parry Moonsong. Okay, that's an interesting one. Moonsong obviously is the one card that kind of counters Bison at range 3. Being a 3 range 6 speeder, Bison probably doesn't want to see too many of those, especially with Jin, a character that likes to strike from hand a lot. Okay, Pinpoint Strike here from Rose. This is a now strike, hit +1 power, and gain advantage as well. So pretty expensive strike here coming out from Rose. Let's see if it pays off. I don't believe she did not go for the draw 2 on it on the after, but this +1 power, it sneaks up on you. You can sneakily break a lot of breakpoints here. Although Bison responding with the EX, with his like EX Grasp or something. EX Focus, wow. Okay. EX Focus will, so this Violent Ice will do 2 damage after armor, and the EX Focus will hit back for 5, -1 armor, so we'll hit back for 4. Jin can choose whether Rose can choose whether she wants to stay at range 1 or range 2. Interesting that she walked up to range 1 only to hit with a Violent Ice. I wonder what's going on there. Okay. Power of Order for the reload. This makes sense to me. Power of Order, just another way that Jin can get cards, can draw cards super easily. That's one actually neglected. But when Jin's low on cards, you can just boost this to get a full hand back, Rose back up to 5 cards in hand. But I'm wondering why she wanted to stand at range 1. Maybe just the fact that range 2 allows Bison additional options that you wouldn't have. So this to me looks like a move action of some sort. Sorry, what? What was that? Oh, I see. No. I forget. Power of Order is actually both players. So that was actually super valuable there. Just because Bison had 6 cards in hand. I actually forgot that this boost applies to both players. So Bison discarded dropped 2 normals, but then Bison dollars in response. Now has a bunch of cards in hand. Jin initiating from range 1. There's not too many things this can be. Also, both uppercuts are down. So, what is this? Like Dual Ice? This could be Dual Ice. Could even be like Grasp. I believe both Permafrosts are down, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, I think only one Permafrost is down. Could be Permafrost. But really is missing the slow part of the mix-up here. And in fact, this is a fast one. So Bison will take 3 and Jin will run away. Bison does have the slight life lead. But at range 4 does have to be worried about the Ultra. Ice Fang, although I believe maybe both those are down, so it doesn't have to be worried about that. Jin does have a Fireball, and then Jin has a Speed 5 dive. Maybe just want it out of there, though, and just some quick damage as well. Let's see how Bison responds. Doesn't have a ton that works at range 4. The Devil's Reverse works at range 4, although both of those are down. Critical attack here. So this could be like Psycho Crusher. If it is Psycho Crusher, the appropriate response would be this, right, the Crystal Strike. Wild Swing coming out from Jin. Okay, I guess no Crystal Strike in hand. Okay, there's the Crystal Strike. Oh, into the Psycho Punisher. I forgot this was a thing you could do at range 4. Okay, so Jin will walk in, hit for 3. That does not break the guard of Psycho Punisher, and Psycho Punisher will hit back for 9. That is a huge, huge, huge hit there for Bison. And yeah, Bison actually gets to advance, cross over Jin, and stand at range 2. Gets advantage, and now it's a huge life lead. Even has something like EX Cross and available, and is this just the EX Cross? I believe both crosses are available on Bison's side, so Rose needs something with armor here to withstand the 4 damage EX Cross and still live. Maybe she's playing Dual Ice. Okay, Dual Ice will work. Dual Ice will miss, but Dual Ice will absorb most of that. Jin, of course, this card is it's really good, I think. Just three armor on a special. It doesn't do a ton of damage, but also can give advantage if it hits back. Very, very good card there. So Jin will take 1. Rose will be down to 3 health. Okay, Rose going for the Exceed here. Okay, this is an interesting way to spend the gauge. You get a bunch of cards. I believe you get 2 cards when you flip, so you draw 3 total. And every time your overdrive trigger goes off, you get an extra card, which isn't such a big deal anymore. Drawing through the rest of our deck because we saw Bison expend the EX Focus. But this is an interesting way. We're saying this is my best way to close out the game. Is Bison sending another EX? Oh wow. So this feels like this. There's not a lot of things this could be. This could be like EX Psycho Crusher, I would guess. No, EX Dive. Okay. So this would be a block coming out from Rose. Bison moving into range 1. Kind of a little sketch just in terms of, hey, Bison only has 1 card left in hand. It could be just he has the perfect card at range 1. Rose will obviously opt to mitigate all of that damage. Will take 0. Overdrive goes off. Jin draws a card. And Jin's... funnily enough, if Bison initiates with that last card in hand, if Jin hits, there's nothing to discard. That's interesting enough. Normally you don't. Normally I feel like you don't see Bison drop down to 1 card like this. Maybe like I said, maybe it's the perfect card though. Maybe it's the second copy of that Ultra or something. The Psycho Punisher. But yeah, the second time this Bison player elected for a critical Ultra. Interestingly enough. So clearly, if there's a lesson here, critting, maybe waiting until you have 4 gauge for those Bison Ultras, not a bad idea. We've seen both of them hit for just immense value gained from the critical on the Bison Ultras. Jin opting for a Scorn, push 1, draw 1, take another action. Just such a good boost here. I mean, it's free, replace itself in hand, and you get really good positioning. A lot of the positioning boosts in this game don't allow you to take another action. We're gonna see a preemptive strike come out from Jin here. So this feels like Assault to me. I don't really know what else it could be. It could be, yeah. Okay, so this is the Assault into the Psycho Punisher, which will be validated because this has 4 guards. So guard through the Assault, and Psycho Punisher will hit back for 1 billion damage. That is game. Game 1 going to Bison here. Actually, pretty overall pretty convincing. Those two the main difference between in this game I think was the ultras that Bison used. Both ultras just had immense value. Both of them they just did so much that Nightmare Booster like turned 4 or whatever. Uh, Obviously the 4 HP from hitting the focus didn't matter, but got advantage off it. And Nightmare Booster like really good ultra. And then the Psycho Punisher at the end does just immense damage. Again, you get an advantage off it, so you can do your thing afterward. But that to me really felt like the difference in the game was just Labrousse able to hit the ultras here. So anyway, on to game 2 here. Labrousse up 1-0. Unfortunately I did not check what the records of these players are, so I don't know if they're actually fighting for like a playoff spot here. So if they both have one loss, they're pretty plausibly fighting for survival here, both these players. If they have 2 losses, then they're not. I believe they're both 2-1, but we'll have to check that. We'll edit that in post and we'll add it to the title to see if both these players are actually fighting for survival or if they're just fighting for bragging rights. But game 2 coming out, I believe Rose's roster is Dan, Polar, Jin. And Labrousse's roster is Sydney and Serena, Bison who's out, and Propeller. So definitely some interesting characters there. It's always great to see players not opt for like the boring season 2 top tier characters. So this should be an interesting one. This should be an interesting matchup what we get here. And let's see what we got. We got Dan coming out from Rose against Plant, Sydney Serena. Okay. This is a matchup I've never seen before. These are 2 characters that I do not believe in, personally. I think both these characters are pretty low tier. Maybe, and if you believe differently, obviously, feel free to leave a comment and tell me why I'm wrong. It just felt like Sydney Serena to me, very over dependent on the ultras. A lot of the other stuff isn't very good besides Spore Burst. And Dan just felt like Dan's just at the mercy of his deck a lot of the time, right? So if you wild swing 3 Shisos and they all hit, you're doing great. And if you don't, then you're gonna have a little bit of a rough time. But apparently I've been told that Rose's Dan should turn me into a believer. That's what I've been told, actually. But yeah, we'll see. Cause Dan to me, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but Dan to me feels like you just build a simple danbot.exe and have it perform relatively well. But maybe I'm just horribly mistaken there, and there's more to the character than that. And SNS, there are really good season 2 characters in this game. The meta is mostly dominated by season 2 characters being overpowered. I don't think Sydney Serena is one of them. But let's see. I mean, this to me is a battle of the low tiers. But if I'm wrong, please let me know. And I don't know too much about this matchup. I don't think I've ever seen it in play. If I had to guess, Dan can kind of get in Sydney Serena's face. No, like he has a lot of advancement opportunities to really get to that range 2, where the wild swing becomes more consistent for Dan. But I'm not 100% sure. To me, it feels like it's going to be tough for Sydney Serena to zone out Dan. But maybe there are some tricks up Labrousse's sleeve. Rose opting to go first. We'll actually look at this from the Dan side here. Apologies for the quick flip here. I actually want to look at this side just because Rose has her cards laid out, whereas Labrousse does not. Yeah, just let me tell you this could be like a 2-minute game, or if Dan just is able to rush in and do his thing. But a lot of to me, it feels like a lot of whether Dan can do his thing is based on the composition of his deck. And yeah, he can manipulate it with cards like Peak, with cards like Psycho Vision to manipulate his hand, with Lucky, a boost I've never seen before. Secret Technique as well. So there is deck manipulation on Dan. Rose opting for the turn 1 prep. Okay, so this is not a degenerate Dan, so I am not familiar with what's going on here. The Dan play I'm used to seeing is wild swinging like a madman, regardless of situation. Just getting rid of all those cards in hand, just going for it. But this Rose looks like she's playing a thinking man, or I guess a thinking woman's Dan. Huh. Okay. So strike here. Notably, Dan has a range for speed 6 move in Danko Kyaku. Has representing a little bit of a mix-up here. Although Sydney Serena does have some weird responses because her specials come out from Sydney Serena. Off to the Spore Burst, so this is a response. So Danko Kyaku will come in, hit for 3, and Spore Burst calculates range from Serena, who's standing here in the middle. Will actually push Dan into the corner. Actually, yes, we'll push. Actually, the push comes from Sydney, or from Serena, right? Yeah, the push comes from Serena, so Dan will indeed be pushed into the corner. The opponent was pushed less than. Oh, okay. Labrousse actually saying you get pushed from Sydney. I don't remember. I don't think. I think I've played as Sydney Serena. I don't think I've ever fought a Sydney Serena before. But yeah, Dan comes in for 3 with his Danko Kyaku, then gets sent right back, deals 5, and then City Serena gets her first transform in play. So this one is when you set special or ultra, you can spend gauge for armor if the attack reveals special or ultra. So this is an interesting strategy. So Sydney Serena, another character like Bison that builds gauge and can build gauge pretty quickly. If we look at the innate ability here, we can see Sydney can spend an action to add the top card of deck to gauge, and Sydney has opted for this twice already. So this is an interesting line. I didn't really do this very much when I played Sydney Serena, but I'm not going to claim I'm some Sydney Serena expert. Rose playing the Thinking Woman's Dan and prepping again. Okay. And the Fierce Boost coming out from City Serena, interesting. Because the specials come out from Serena, there's some interesting mix-ups in play that wouldn't normally be in play for most characters. Because a lot of these specials do actually end up hitting, like things like Blossom Haze, Venom Lash, Spore Burst all hit. Spore Burst is hit. So some interesting threats for Dan to navigate here. Let's see what Rose decides to do. This is no Dan play that I've seen before. This is not ignorant. This is not ignorant Dan play. Okay, Dan boosting the light in response to the fierce. Okay. Now things like Godokin speed 6, Dive speed 6. I believe those are the only Dan cards that can hit. I'm assuming she's not going to be able to get rid of this whole hand for Shiso. Oh, Shiso's a range 3, I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay, Sydney Serena striking into this +2 speed. It's an interesting one. I don't really know what this is. This could be like a slow to bait out Dan coming in. But Dan does have the range 4 option, Godokin, so he doesn't need to come in if he has that option in hand, of course. Like, this could even feasibly be something like second Spore Burst. Okay, Dan opts for the Godokin, and it is the second Spore Burst. I'm a genius. Okay. So yeah, that's gonna be big. It's gonna be big damage on the Spore Burst. It's gonna be 7 damage Spore Burst coming in, and Dan gets pushed to the corner. So actually, the zoning is working here a little bit. Dan's gonna have to walk in, spend resources. Which, to be fair, Dan has a ton of resources to engage. 1 billion in hand. Dan does have the resources to walk up. And Dan, I believe, does not have anything that hits from range 6. Like, there's no way. Dan has something. His Fireball only goes range 4. And all this other stuff doesn't work. Although, Legendary Taunt does work. Because you can You can legendary taunt, advance 3, and then do something like a dive or like an assault. So you walk up, and then you do your thing, and then you like assault in. That's one. That's one extra piece of movement that Dan does have from striking. It is Rose's advantage right now. Rose just thinking, what's the best way to come in here? Looks like. I'm assuming there's going to be some form of movement coming from the Dan side here. You don't want to be zoned out for too long against Sydney Serena. Though does have to worry about this Ultra now, Verdant Slaughter. Actually, does not have to worry about it yet, not enough gauge. So Verdant Slaughter requires extra gauge to pull his opponent closer to the plant. And there's only 3 gauge here, which would not be enough. Okay, Rose thinking here. Is it gonna be spend 4 cards to walk in? That seems about right. This Dan functions well on low hand. Doesn't really need a ton of hand, and yeah, looks like yep. Dan spends 4, walks into the plant. Notably, Spore Burst, which is like we said, like one of the most valuable Sydney Serena specials, no longer a thing. Both have been spent early, so that's one piece of the mix-up of the Sydney Serena mix-up missing there on the SNS side. Maybe Rose can take advantage of that somehow. Labrousse got a bunch of cards in hand. Opting to strike. Okay. This could feasibly be that Ultra. The Verdant Slaughter Ultra. Dan opting for the block is actually the fast Ultra. Aluraune's Kiss. Don't know who Aluraune is. Maybe leave a comment below. Just telling me what that is. I actually don't know. So this has an interesting kind of gauge stealing effect. So the opponent discards the card from their gauge, and then Sydney Serena gets 2 gauge from her own discard. So this is kind of like gauge stealing without the actual stealing of cards. But yeah, Sydney Serena has a bunch of gauge. This feels like an Ultra coming out from Dan's side. The only question is which one. It's going to be How against another Aluraune's Kiss, and this is an attack at range. Wait, hold on. Doesn't Aluraune's Kiss hit here because it's a 0 range Ultra? Yeah, I believe it does. Yeah, so this will hit. This beats How Godouken outright because this is a range 0 Ultra, and attacks at range 2 to 5 do not hit. So this Aluraune's Kiss ended up being a sweet read. Actually, kind of beats both sides of the Dan mix-up here, of the Dan Ultra mix-up, right? Beats both How and Shiso. Dan opting for the critical wild swing. Not much else to be done here. I will say playing Spike into a Dan ready to crit it's spicy. It's really spicy. Did not get punished, but that's a spicy one right there. Dan blocks, and yep, Sydney Serena in true zoner manner crosses out. Dan now back to range 5. This is looking troublesome. That second Aluraune's Kiss, and apologies if it sounds like I'm pronouncing that word weird. Name maybe. CC4 spending both those ultras, just a full hand now on Sydney Serena. This is scary. This is scary. Dan does have that comeback potential though, and only needs a couple cards to but does need a couple of turns to actually build up that pressure, right? So we'll just opt for prepare again. This makes sense to me. Although Sydney does have a turn to do something, something like a Venom Lash. Although to be fair, Venom Lash loses to Dan Kukiaku, so that's a thing to be concerned about. Rose does not have it, looks like. It's the Pea Shooter. Okay, so Psycho will miss, obviously. And the Pea Shooter will stun and pull Dan closer. Oh, will optionally pull Dan. It's not forced. That's what I'm saying. This card obviously notoriously just looks awful. It does 1 damage. The boost on it's super cool. I think Vine Snare is really good. We don't really see Pea Shooter come out too often, and this Pea Shooter was a response to Denku Kyaku, obviously, because both are speed 6, and City Serena would win that speed tie on his initiation. Yeah, okay, so this is an optional pull. Okay, Dan drawing some movement finally. Cheap movement rather. I guess Dan had the movement, but spending all your gauge and your hand to move to range 2 feels a little bad, huh? This feels like maybe a Verdant Slaughter coming out. Verdant Slaughter seems kind of tricky for Dan to deal with at this juncture. Ton of gauge, so this will be pretty heavily guarded. Verdant Slaughter here. I mean, Verdant Slaughter seems like the telegraph. This could obviously be like a bait. Koryukin is a response to Verdant Slaughter, depending on what card's on top. Oh, it's just a cross. Interesting. Okay. City Serena making even more distance. This is tough. This is really tough. Now, getting hit with both offensive crosses has really just no cards left, and Sydney Serena just slowly chipping away. I was kind of doubting whether Sydney Serena could successfully zone Dan out with all the movement options that Dan has, but it looks like the reads have been going Sydney Serena's way, and Labrousse has done a really, really good job of keeping Dan out. Dan hasn't been able to play the game for like 60% of the match so far, and now down significant life. Dan has a bond. Dan has no gauge, so the ultras are out with this kind of huge hand. Looks like critical wild swing. It can't be critical. This is gonna be a range 5. Okay. Unfortunately, dive would be a good response if something slow was played, but Blossom Haze will beat that out. Deal just a little three more damage, just tickling Dan to death here. Dan unable to really play Dan's game right now. Rose is gonna have to figure out something fast, because she's getting just zoned out by Sydney Serena so hard here. This is gonna have to be some sort of move action. Get into Sydney's face, and yeah, it is. Unfortunate that it took so long, because Sydney was able to chunk out, so just win so many combats, just chunk out little tiny bits of health. I'll tell you now. I mean, Dan does have comeback potential, with dumb things like wild swinging ultras, but this is gonna be tough. This looks tough. Sydney has all the resources in the world, has double transforms as well. Striking here looks like from range 2. At least this can't be the third cross, right? Is this Verdant Slaughter? No, it's a sweep into the focus. Okay. Looks like Dan expecting the Verdant Slaughter here, responding with the focus, which makes Rose unmovable. But yeah, I mean, just that trade, you take that any day. 4 for 4 when you're up 15 life is immense. Dan down to 2 HP. That Verdant Slaughter still a looming threat. At least a lot of the fireballs are down from Sydney Serena's side, so maybe it's got to be like a normal to finish the game off. But this is looking grim for Dan, unfortunately. Let's see what Rose can do to get out of this situation, because Labrousse has been frankly just dominating this game. This is much more. This is super convincing, in my opinion. Really good Sydney Serena play, which is something I have not seen before, so this is a real treat. Sydney Serena, like I said before, a character that I don't rate really highly. I think there's a guy in the Discord who is a Sydney Serena main. Maybe you go watch more of his games or her games or their games to see what good Sydney Serena gameplay is like. But this is the first time I've seen it, and this is looking tough. This is looking tough. I will say maybe Dan should have moved in earlier, but still, it's. I don't really. I maybe this is just because I'm not a Dan player. I don't see how Dan wins. I don't see the win con yet. Maybe in a combat I'll be convinced, but I don't see the win con yet. Okay, Set your vision. So look at the opponent's hand, discard any number of cards from your hand, and strike. So this looks to me like a play to like hit an ultra or something. Unfortunately, that Verdant Slaughter in hand, that's gonna be super guarded. Is this like a Dan plays Spike here type play? That seems okay if Dan has Spike in hand. That's the kind of bet you have to take a big bet somewhere, right? And this maybe seems like the time to make the bet. I mean, I guess there's no other time to make the bet besides now. So if Dan has Spike, I'm sure that's coming out this turn. What's going on here? Did she just reveal her hand? Did we see Sweep Spike in her hand? I hope not, because that's a super unfortunate thing to do, because if it was Sweep Spike, did she not shuffle her hand either? Did she just play Sweep? I don't know if Labrousse saw that or not, but that is something, right? I feel like we saw Sweep Spike. I'm not 100% sure what the second card. I know we saw Sweep. And isn't this the sweep that she played? I don't even know if she shuffled her hand or not before that kind of misstep, and that's just kind of super unfortunate. But yeah, we did see at least the sweep, and I'm like 90% sure we saw the swipe. We saw the spike as well. Okay, focus and response beats the sweep. Yeah, so we knew that the sweep was played from Rose, and that's just like a super unfortunate kind of way to end the game, because we saw what was in her hand, and you never want to see that happen. You never want to lose that way either. Although to be fair, I think Sydney Serena was winning this game in a lot of different worlds, so not the most fatal mistake, but it is kind of it does bum me out a little bit to see the game lost in that manner. And like we said, we don't know if Labrousse actually saw the hand or not. But yeah, Sydney Serena actually able to keep Dan out. Yeah, and like Labrousse correctly states in chat, those two early Spore Bursts actually did quite a number as far as being able to keep Dan out. Dan unable to actually stick like glue to Sydney. Sydney just able to run away. I mean, he started here, walked back a little bit, and then just cross ended up all the way here. By that point, just death by 1,000 paper cuts, and Sydney was able to take it. Didn't even need to flip to Serena, which would have been a cute little thing to see, but didn't even need it. Like, super convincing win. I mean, if you think about it, I believe when Sydney flips, he gets 5 extra health. So this was a win by like 20 HP. But yeah, anyways, Labrousse takes the set 2-0. Bison over Jin, and Sydney Serena over Dan. GG's to both players. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed your time here. If you're a first time viewer, you liked what you saw, feel free to hit the subscribe button. I don't like saying that every single time. Maybe I'll have maybe I'll do, maybe I'll have an end screen that gives me, like, you could hit the little button on the video to subscribe, although that's not really friendly to mobile users. We'll figure something out, but maybe we'll see some upgrades to the channel in the near future. We'll see. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, feel free to subscribe if you enjoy the video, like the video, comment, hit the bell, do whatever you want. But I really do appreciate you guys sticking here and watching this video. So thank you, and we'll see you for the next one, which will probably be tomorrow. I believe I am hosting a game tomorrow night, similar time. So yeah, until next time, guys. Bye bye.